Welcome to Ground Up Growth, where we share entrepreneurial insights, business strategies, and personal growth lessons to help listeners build success from the ground up.
All right, welcome back to Ground Up Growth. We are doing part 2 with Miss Hannah Pittman, Pittman Marketing. This portion we're going to dive into, Hannah mentioned in the first episode that she went through a rebranding process here lately. So I want to hear about that, what spurred that. And then we're going to talk about market trends maybe for 2026, what you're seeing, how things have changed over the last 4 or 5 years. We're just going to get into your wheelhouse and figure it out.
Okay.
So tell us about the rebrand, because you were originally Pittman & Co. And now you're Pittman Marketing.
Right.
So not a whole lot of change there, but what spurred that? What's the thought process there?
Okay, so when I started the company, I was like, I guess I knew I wanted it to not be just me, but I knew that my name was tied to the business. So that's why I kept Pittman. And Co. was supposed to be like, kind of signal our plan for growth. Like I want to have a team behind me. I want to have more brains that I'm bouncing ideas off of. So that's where the & Co. came from. And I just realized at some point it wasn't doing anything for me. Like once we kind of established ourselves as we're a small team, and it was kind of just, it felt like fluff to me. Like it didn't need to be there.
Were you getting any, like Pittman & Co.?
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Were you getting that? Like the whole what is Pittman & Co.? And I'm saying that because at Hopper, we went through a rebrand a couple of years ago because we've always been Hopper Properties. And now, and for several reasons, from an advertising law perspective to Mississippi Real Estate Commission, there's some reasons that we changed, but also we were Hopper Properties and we changed to Hopper. And for one, and I'm kind of overtaking your story.
No.
But I want to hit this point and then tie it back to yours. So, I felt like we had become a brand around here over 10 years that like people knew what Hopper was.
Right.
But all the years I'd always get Hopper Properties. Like, what is Hopper Properties? Do y'all sell stuff? But a lot of times people think we're like an apartment management company for some reason. And so we changed to Hopper Real Estate Leaders for a couple of reasons there. But I think I personally love the idea of going from Pittman & Co. to Pittman Marketing because it stamps what you do. It doesn't leave it up for interpretation. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a big reason why.
If you had a lot of people say anything, because we ran into it. So
yeah, feedback I'd gotten from people was like it could be anything. And in our primary logo, we had marketing solutions in there, which was also just the goal was to help people know. I rarely use that logo. So I didn't really like our visual identity. I kind of threw it together and I had just been winging it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so part of this rebrand was taking a step back. Like I have people that can help me run the business, so I can take a step back and focus on the goal and the vision of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one, just be more clear with what you offer. So that's where Pittman Marketing came in. And naturally, how our team and some of our clients were kind of referring us was just Pittman.
I was going to say, like, hey, call Hannah.
Yeah.
Would be I feel like the path of a lot of people, like referral-based stuff.
Right.
I mean,
our business is like all referral-based.
because it's like people say they just say Hopper.
Right.
Everybody's like, they work at Hopper or call Hopper or whatever. And it's like, because I also think if it's too much, it's too much. Like if it was Pittman & Co. Marketing Solutions,
It's too much.
it's too much to digest. If it's just like Pittman Marketing.
Yeah. And then when people know, then we could drop marketing. So the way that you've been around for 10 years and a lot of people just call you a Hopper. My hope is that in a few years people just call us Pittman and everyone knows we do marketing.
Right.
So the start of that was Pittman Marketing. It's more clear. People know what we do. And then with that, we have a more refined brand strategy, which is just who we want to work with, how we show up, kind of just what the strategy is there, which helped inform the visual strategy, which is more grounded, timeless, just kind of how we operate and how we want to operate. So it was kind of taking a step back and just defining what I want the business to be and then building a brand off of that. And it was a good time to rebrand because it's like, all right, I've built it up a little bit. We've been around for 3 years now. Let's go back to the market with a more clear message because I had kind of just been winging it the past few years. But we have a small team. We have a solid group of clients. So it's a good time to just kind of signal. And brands will ask us that. Like, when is it time to do a rebrand? And it's usually when you're signaling some sort of shift in the business or the strategy. It's not usually just because you wake up one day and you're like,
bored.
I kind of just want a new logo.
Right.
Let's do that.
Right.
There's got to be a strategy behind it.
Yeah. I like that. So you changed to Pittman Marketing. Well, let's talk about the market trends then. So what are you seeing? How has marketing changed in the past 5 years that you see? I mean, what's some of the biggest?
So much. And one of the hardest parts of marketing is it changes by the day.
Right.
It is so much to keep up with, and you always have to be keeping up with it. And it's hard for business owners to keep up with. They're running their business.
Do you follow? I mean, you got to follow a lot of other.
Yeah.
Like, I follow real estate brokerages out west and different things. There's some that I feel like are ahead of the curve and use innovative marketing techniques and different software programs and things. And so, like, I'm always, and we talked about this before the podcast, but like, I think it's good to keep a pulse on what's going on, but in the same breath, you don't need to be worried about what your competition's doing. That can be dangerous because if you're worried about what your competition's doing, it's going to slow you down because you're focusing on them. You're trying to make sure you're ahead of them or doing whatever. And if you just stay in your lane, keep plowing, don't look back, be innovative, break the mold, they're going to be chasing you the whole time. So,
Yep, I agree.
To that
100%.
a little bit.
And we do, it's a big part of like keeping up with what other agencies are doing. And the agencies specifically that are bigger, more established, kind of paving the way for a lot of others. Like, what are they doing? How are they using AI? That's been the biggest conversation the past few years. And what do they do for their clients? How do they explain their services? Where do they cap their packages? I look at stuff like that often. But I agree. And part of just know who you are and how you want to show up. And that's the biggest thing. Like, know your why and how you want to show up and just do that. So part of this rebrand, going back and defining our strategy, who we are, how we want to show up, we have a central point that with every tactic or strategy that we put in place for our team, it can go back to that. And we didn't really have that before. So that has helped. But yeah, I agree. Like, the accounts I follow are really more for education purposes. Or there's some like graphic designers or video people that we love to follow because it's just inspirational. It's good to look at. It's good for us to see how other people are being creative.
Do you collaborate with any agencies like in different, for instance, I just had a hour-and-a-half phone call the other day with a broker in Kansas, and you could argue and say we're competition in that we're all in real estate, but we're not. We're in two totally different markets. But he shed a ton of insight into, we're just two totally different, like in Mississippi, people that buy land in Mississippi are people from Mississippi or Louisiana, like 99% of the time. Somebody from Kansas doesn't call me and say, hey, I'm wanting hunting land.
Right.
But in a market where he's at in Kansas, people come from around the world or around the country to buy land in Kansas. And so like he's working with a totally different market and like how to market to people that are in New York. How do you get them to come look at something in Kansas? So like collaboration with somebody else in the space has been very beneficial to me to shed light on things that little breadcrumbs that I can pick up and may or may not can implement in what we do. Do you do that with any agencies that are quote unquote competition or?
Absolutely. There's one in Memphis that we kind of formed a relationship through, we work at Armstrong. I worked with this agency and kind of helped bring them on. and just really, he's a few years ahead of me and a few steps ahead of me, but I really value what he does, and he does great work. And so we'll call each other and refer people. Like, he doesn't do websites. He just sent me a website referral for a client that he has that he's doing content for, photography and videography.
Gotcha.
So we work on that. Like, there's some referral, but even before the referral, we would call each other and just, like, what
Iron
platform do you
sharpens
use
iron.
for this? And how are you hired? How'd you find, he called me after I hired Riley. How'd you find her? Like, does she have friends? And so, yeah, absolutely. And in general, I very much believe in, you need to be a sponge and absorb all the information you can from other business leaders and entrepreneurs, and always try to learn, and to pour into someone else and let other people pour into you. And you
Yes.
keep growing if you do that
Yes.
right. But so, yeah, anytime. I was just telling someone this yesterday. She's doing a consulting company. She's working with other business leaders, and they were talking about her new brand, her website, and they're curious about, because they're business owners, they're curious about how she's doing her business. Like, and I was like, use that as an opportunity. If they start the conversation and they want to learn more, and they're open to giving you feedback, like, ask what they think about it, what advice they have, critique the website, critique the branding,
Yeah.
critique your brochure you send out. Like, anytime people want to give us advice, I'm like, come on, I'd love
Yeah.
to hear it. And likewise, there's people even locally that you could argue are our direct competitors. I'm totally fine meeting with them. I met with one last week and have worked with her, and she does all social media, which we could easily have overlap with clients. And I've given her some of our clients that we couldn't work with because it's the same industry and stuff like that. But in marketing, there's plenty of work to go around. And God has blessed our business, and I pray that He continues to bless it. But I have no problem
Yeah.
meeting with people. And
I think that's a big part of it. I mean, otherwise you're just isolated, and it doesn't spur your brain to
Right.
think outside the box. And yeah, I think constructive criticism, whether you want to hear it or not, is really beneficial if you're willing to listen to it, lean into it, leverage off of it.
yeah,
So social media has been the big marketing thing for the, last several years, I feel like. And I know every industry is different, and I'd love to hear kind of, because you're dealing with people in all different types of industries. Like, a real estate agency may need to be heavy on social media and not heavy on, some type of marketing that I know we've talked about different things before, but like, I know there's a trend for things outside of social media
Right.
for marketing and growth. What do you see? I know we've talked about this before, but like back to just like relationship-based marketing stuff.
yeah.
Kind of, what's your take on social media as a whole, and where do you see things going? And I guess you could inject some AI in there, and what your thoughts are with that.
Absolutely. So in general, there's market trends that are just like, how are people communicating? What are they using video or are they not? Like, in trends that we're seeing right now is a little less video, more carousels. People are kind of tired of video. They're fatigued from it. Now they're doing carousels. That's a trend. Well, the biggest thing we're seeing right now and watching and adapting into everything is more of a behavior shift. And it's that people are tired of being marketed to. It's just been this, everyone's just like vomiting marketing
I agree with
content.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I'm on a social media cleanse right now. Dry January. No alcohol and no social media.
You probably feel great.
Yeah, I'm paying you to do my social media, and I'm fasting from social media. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I agree. Like, we've talked about this, and I'm not going to spill or show all my cards, but over marketing, I think, is a real thing.
Right.
At least in my industry, and probably more so in my industry, because I'm getting on a rabbit trail, but when I got into real estate, I was the first person in our market, our area, to put my face on the sign, on the real estate sign. Land guys never did that. Now you look up and there's 10,000 realtors, and everybody's wrapping their trucks and putting their face on there and like, and I'm all for, I mean, Austin LaSource is one of my best friends and that's how he makes a living. Like I'm all for that, but I'm saying it's just gotten to be, the real estate industry, I feel, has gotten to be such a dog and pony show that it has almost created a void or an opportunity for under-marketed stuff. And that sounds so weird.
I know.
But like, if I was to call you and say, so let's say you were looking for a house. And if I called you and said, hey, Hannah, I got an off-market deal that has not been exploited, it's not been blasted everywhere, you would stop what you're doing and go look at that because of the scarcity, like the exclusivity part of it. I almost feel like this over-marketing phenomenon that we've seen the last couple of years in real estate has created an opportunity for something totally different.
Yes,
that is going against the grain.
Yeah. And that's the conversation we're having with so many people. Real estate, I mean, it's insanely saturated with not just.
But you still got to have marketing. So it's like, how do you.
What's the balance?
You got to shift.
Yeah. And so it's like, I think what's important is you still need to have a professional brand. From a brand strategy perspective, you need to know, how do I want to operate this business? What are our values? What do we want to go back to? You need to be places because we can't deny we're in the digital world.
For sure.
You need to have a website. You need a social media presence. You need a Google business listing. You need a professional email address. You need to look legit.
Right.
But then how you show up every day on social media looks different today than it did 5 years ago or even a year ago.
Really? Yeah, I agree with that.
And even per industry, it's a little bit different. But we have a lot of it's like posting less and focusing on the content. Make it very impactful when you do post. Post more stories instead of posts because people are more interested in your day-to-day. And so a typical package, when we signed on, it looks a bit different now. It's shifted to where you used to just want to post all the time.
Right.
Then stories came in. Now people love stories and they would rather swipe that way than scroll this way.
Mm-hmm.
So that shifts. But in general, from an overall business strategy, we're having more conversations with, like, let's look at your customer journey and what are these touch points? Because people are craving authenticity, they're craving relationships, and they want to trust people because there's fluff everywhere and just a lot of BS from so many companies, and it's not trustworthy anymore. So the more that brands can learn how to be authentic and show up that way on social, but have that authenticity, make the customer feel that when they interact with your brand, then it creates more loyalty. And people want to be loyal to a brand. They want to find one and stick with it. It's finding one and trusting them that are so hard.
Right.
So marketing is shifting a ton right now because of the human behavior has shifted so much
That's
in this
interesting.
digital world.
I agree with that. And that's, at the end of the day, I mean, back to your point about the loyalty and the relationship side, I feel like in most any industry, word of mouth is the cheapest form of advertisement, but it's the best.
It's the best.
Like I tell people all the time, because people will text me, I mean, all the time, like, hey, because they just know, like, I'm in the real estate game, and it's like everything from a painter. Hey, you know a good painter? If I text you a painter's contact, you're going to use them. You're not going to call 5 different painters.
No, and I'm not going to Google painter
what,
Madison, Mississippi, because I'm not probably going to trust those first few, but I would trust one you recommended.
Right. So, yeah, I agree with that. If you can base your marketing strategy on a way to capture people through loyalty, building a relationship, I think the ripple effect from that is going to be huge.
Yeah.
With word of mouth and different things.
And it depends how you want to grow. Like right now in this business, and I have twins that are young, and we've grown, like I said, it's all really been referral. We've not had to market ourselves really at all.
Yeah.
You could, really the marketing that we do with having social media, everyone has to do that these days. You have to represent yourself on social media. So it's really like another form of our website. I view our social media as when they go there, if they hear about us, they can get a glimpse of who we are, what we offer, what it's like to work with us. But the business that I'm going to get, it's from one of our clients saying, hey, you should contact Hannah, call Riley, call Natalie, call the Pittman team, and they'll take care of you.
Yes.
And so my strategy is to keep on that. Now, in a few years, when I have more time, maybe, our strategy might look different. And I could be doing things like paid media or different type of placements so that we're seeing more places and there's more of a funnel to get to us. But right now, yeah, it's just, and so that's what I'm saying. It depends where you are in your business, what levers you need to pull for marketing. But so much of it now is like, everyone just pause. If you're in a new business, set a good strategy on how you want to show it for people, and then make your digital presence represent that. If you're in an established business, pause and look at how do you show up for clients? Like, what does that look like? How do you make people feel? And tell more of a story. Like, everything we do tries to go back to, what story are we telling?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just put out a post because we need to put out a post. Like,
Right.
what do we want people to feel when they look at this post?
And too, like, and I'd love to hear your take on this, like how much time somebody, I mean, you see how fast, I mean, when you scroll on something, like your attention is so short on something. And I've seen this, you know, from the billboard side of things over the years. Because like when you do your first billboard, like you want to put all this information out there because you're paying this much money a month. And it's like you want to get this whole thing out there. But literally the least amount of information you can put on there is like, you just need, I mean, because they're looking at it for 2 seconds, and you may want to think they're looking at it longer than that, but they're not. Same thing I would think with social media. Like, they just, if they want to find out who, if somebody says, hey, you know, use Pittman Marketing to do your stuff, and they go, let me go see what Pittman's about, and they go look at your Facebook, they're not going to spend 15 minutes on there.
Right.
So to your point, it's like you need to somehow capture and give the whole story of just
Who you are,
what
and
you
like,
do.
And that's where brand consistency is huge. And so many people, especially more local, they've tried to take on their branding and their marketing themselves. They have a limited budget, and I totally respect that. And that's where, from a pricing perspective, we try to be really competitive and have, so we can help these smaller businesses. But brand consistency is huge, because if they go a few places and they're not seeing the same logo, they're not seeing the same messaging, they're not seeing the same services, whatever, they're confused, they are not impacted, and they don't remember anything about your brand because they just saw a million different things.
Right.
So
I've seen that with like I've seen a specific brand that like uses 5 different variations of colors.
Crazy.
Just
like, don't do that, anyone listening. Yeah, it's so important to just define it all and just be consistent. Just roll with it, stay with it, because people are going to see that, and it matters. Like your billboard. If you had your same logo and put a different color, or had a different variation of your logo that maybe wasn't your primary, it would not be near as impactful.
Right.
People would zoom right past it and probably not know it was a Hopper billboard. You gotta, you have a few seconds. And people, we're so fatigued. I mean, we see things all the time on our phone, and like, you're consuming things everywhere. So consistency is key. And for a lot of businesses, that's where the brand awareness strategy comes in, of like, it sometimes is good to just show up briefly in many different spots.
Yes.
And kind of spread that budget out a little bit.
Right.
And one thing I love about how we work with our clients, and we had this conversation yesterday with someone who he doesn't need to put all of his dollars in organic social media. He's not enough other places that's going to be really impactful. So we're trimming him down a little bit. Like, we'll focus on being, like, showing up enough on social media to still make an impact. You still have to do that. But let's take your dollars and move it a little bit, and like, be a few other places so people are seeing you more. Like, go back to the top of the funnel a little bit, and let's kind of rework it. And if it means we have less business coming in, but that client is getting more, that's okay.
Right.
Because we're referral based. So if they trust us and we help them, he'll refer me to somebody else.
That's
it's fine.
So, in wrapping this one up, you are coming on to co-host from now on.
Yeah.
So tell us what you see about ground up growth and where we're going to head with this thing. Because you're already hitting the ground running. You got us a new Instagram page, a new Facebook page.
Working
you said
on a
something
new
about
website.
TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but
Yeah, we're going to be on TikTok.
I'm excited because I know you're excited. And
Yeah.
so tell us about what your plan is from a marketing perspective with ground up growth. Where are we headed?
Okay, you mentioned it at the beginning of the first episode. We have dedicated pages for that. We're trying to help. We get these guests on, and the goal is to help other people get information from these. People share their story, they share advice, they share input, and people are supposed to learn from that. So how do we spread that information to more people? And that's by having some dedicated pages and really optimizing for SEO. So to do that, we're focusing more on YouTube, we're focusing on the website, and of course, dedicated social media pages. And breaking it up in 2 parts helps us be a little more specific with helping people find episodes based on what we're talking about, not just a person. And hopefully, having these guests on, it can help them be found. This is credibility for them.
Absolutely.
So,
huge platform.
Huge platform to do this. Come on, tell your story, talk about your company. Think about press and PR, like back to my major. And how people will pay a PR agency to get them places. Coming on a podcast is modern PR.
Right.
So if we can get people on, they share their story, we take those snippets, they're on our website in a blog page, optimized for SEO based on what they're talked about, and then these short little clips that are very consumable are everywhere you can find us.
Yes.
So that is the strategy. That's what we're going to do. And I'm excited to come on and just have a different perspective, because you have said a few times you're in this new part of your career where you're slowing down a little bit, although I see you and you're not slowing down that much, and you're trying to give back and pour into other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm at the opposite, where I'm taking every bit of information I can from every business leader I can talk to. And that's kind of our audience. And so I'm excited to come on and ask some of these questions that I know I would want to know. I know my peers that are in similar stages of their business would want to know.
Right.
And just get some more information out of people, and then help market it so their name gets out even more.
Right.
And their advice gets out even more.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I think your perspective, and just with your background, it's the confluence of that and what we've already had going, I think will be really, really good. And I want to go to our listeners, send anybody that y'all think would be a good guest. We've got a lot of people, but we need a Rolodex of guests, and I am genuinely interested in everybody's story and keep a growth mindset through it, and interviewing people out of this area, because right now everybody's coming to this location to do that, and that's one of the things we've talked about is potentially expanding to where we do. You can speak to that, but
more virtual.
Virtual, where you can
really open it up to where we could have guests from anywhere. So we're working on a virtual setup, and I think we're ready to turn that on at any point. We'll figure it out.
I think that'll be really good.
I've
got some people that I've been wanting to interview that just live 3 or 4 hours away, and it's just not making sense, So
anyone that, if you have someone that you think would be interested in coming on the podcast, who has a story that you've heard or you're curious to hear, we would love to hear any guests. So you can contact either of us if you have our number, or email. We do have an email dedicated to the podcast, groundupgrowthpodcast@gmail.com. And we would love to have a whole list. We'd have to have a waiting list of.
And we kind of, just to reiterate it, business leaders can be entrepreneurs. They can be just leaders in a specific industry. It could be somebody that's on a personal growth level. We've talked about that. I mean, getting somebody on that it doesn't even have to be about business. It could just be a teacher or a coach or somebody that is going to be influential in helping people learn and grow and provide insight on things that have helped them along their journey. So we're open to anybody. So
absolutely.
All right,
I'm
Hannah.
excited.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Me too.